Good morning, y'all. We are back with another edition of DNVR Rams Live. As always, I'm your host, Justin Michael. Really stoked. Earlier this week, I was able to catch up with Niko Medved, second Friday in a row that we have had head coach on. Obviously, we had Jay Norvell on a week ago. If you missed that, go back and check that out. You can see it on the DNVR Sports YouTube, also available via audio consumption on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcasts. I have one article already out that also references that interview that kind of talks about just kind of how the success of players like Torrey Horton and Braden Fowler-Nicolosi have allowed CSU to have success in landing some more weapons this offseason for this upcoming year. A lot of fun. We kind of talked about the, state of the offense going into the year. Norvell feels like the talent at the receiver positions is in a spot that it just hasn't been in recent years. It's much more similar to the time when he was at Nevada, and we obviously remember the Wolfpack being a powerhouse there in 2019 and 2021. They just drummed the Rams, so it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens there. Again, really appreciate CSU football. And specifically, Jeff Schmidt, CSU football media contact, recently got a promotion for hooking that up, for being so great to work with. Big shout out to CSU men's basketball as well, obviously, for making this upcoming interview with Niko Medved, as Taylor in the Toyota chat says, Nique Goat Medved. It was great. I picked his brain on a lot of different stuff. I asked him about, I should say, his relationship with John Weber, the new AD, President Amy Parsons. Obviously, we talked Nique Clifford's return. Kind of the staff's mindset this offseason when it came to the recruiting approach, whether things in the portal era have changed how you can view the outlook, just in terms of if it's more year to year now, rather than kind of the long-term play. According to Medved, maybe a little bit more complicated than I've made it. In my estimation, you really can't think much more down the line than a year at a time at this point. Like, obviously, you're hoping to be able to develop as much as you can. There's no guarantee that these guys are going to stick around anymore. And that makes it hard to bank on. Like, you're hoping it, but it's just kind of a situation where you can't put all your eggs in one basket, I guess is what I would say. Real quick, we do have some news in the college football, college basketball world. It came out, Gloria Nevarez has done a couple of interviews. That's the Mountain West commissioner. And she has talked about basically the league being open to naming rights type deals. Obviously, if you saw the big report yesterday, it was that the Big 12 and All-State potentially have a deal in the works for a naming rights thing. It might be like the All-State 12, which is kind of objectively hilarious and a perfect, example of just like where we're at with college sports today. You're going to sell your soul even further to rename a conference. You're going to get rid of big. You're going to keep 12, which is not a number that accurately represents your number. I don't know. I guess that's just where we're at. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there's also now the possibility of having on-field sponsors. And I know I kind of sound like an old man with that one. It doesn't really matter, especially if it's small around the 25s. I think if you replace your midfield logo or, kind of, outshine it with a bigger logo from a corporate sponsor, that would be pretty disappointing. And another, just perfect example of how stupid college sports are. If you're the Mountain West, though, if your school's like CSU, you got to be open to anything at this point. And, I don't really care about putting on-field sponsors. If you rename your conference, I think that's pretty lame. There's also a lot of talk about private equity potentially being in the mix for some of these conferences. Somebody's going to do it at some point. It's just, when do they pull the trigger? And like, I can't fault some of these G5 leagues, especially because I think the opportunity to inject a bunch of capital into your conference would be really appealing. Obviously, the disparity between the haves and the have-nots, it's never been greater. it just stinks that we're in a position where you have to do these drastic measures because our sport has gotten so out of whack in the pursuit of greed, essentially, that this is where we're at. So I don't know. Like, I don't want to rant too much. Today's going to be a fun show. We got Medved coming, but it just every week it feels like we get some report that just reminds us that this sport has never been in a dumber place. This weekend, I'm supposed to catch up with 2025 commit Caden Branson, so make sure you guys are keeping an eye out. There, we talked a little bit about his commitment yesterday on the live show with Dre. Make sure you can go check that out. Again, DNVR Sports YouTube or available wherever you listen to your podcast. The last thing I'm going to say before we get to that interview with Niko Medved, I know you guys are going to enjoy it. We've got some controversy. If you've listened to the show for a long time, you know that I am a big supporter of the hot dog eating contest. It's disgusting. It's awesome. I love it. It's one of the dumbest things that I'm into. But if Joey Chestnut isn't participating, who wants to watch the thing? Like, we've got Kobayashi versus Joey Chestnut coming up on Labor Day on Netflix. I grew up with this dumb event. I will say, representing a faux meat hot dog, that's kind of un-American on Joey Chestnut's part. But if you're Nathan's, you drop the ball here, man. How do you not lock down your franchise quarterback when you find out that the impossible, or whatever it's called, the impossible meat wanted to sign him? How do you not lock down your franchise QB? Make sure that never happens. It feels like a huge miss on my part. Addison says in the Toyota chat, corporate sponsorships is one thing. Private equity is a whole different deal and sounds like an absolute disaster. I'll be honest, I'm not nearly smart enough on the nuances of that entire process to be able to sit here and rant about what's good, what's bad. I will say, is as a very casual observer of a lot of industries, seems like when you inject private, capital into it, can get kind of tricky. The newspaper industry is a pretty great example of that. At some point, they're going to want some return on that. And the reality is a lot of these schools, they're not profitable. So I don't know. I don't know how that works long term. We're going to get to that interview with Niko Medved here. Been teasing it long enough. Real quick, trucks have been a part of Toyota's DNA for generations. Toyota has built durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. Whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's just right for you. Check out the all-new 2024 Tacoma or the iconic 2024 Land Cruiser. Toyota currently offers 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the Epic 4Runner. They offer more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker to give numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. There's 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. Not to be outdone, Toyota SUVs take command on the road and on the trail. Excuse me. So you can explore the road less traveled without sacrificing smooth city rides in SUVs like the RAV4 and Grand Highlander. Toyota, a proud partner of CSU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR. I also want to talk to you guys about the Circle K Inner Circle. Circle K, it is the bee's knees. I was about to say a swear word. I don't know if they're going to be okay with that. It's really easy to sign up for. All you got to do is enter your email and your phone number to be fully enrolled. You're going to get discounts on gas. You're going to get 5 Polar Pops for free. I don't know about you, when it's 100 degrees and I'm, pumping some gas, sometimes you need a little bit of a cool treat to keep you going. I had to do that yesterday when I filled up. Exclusively for our members, you can get a Polar Pop or a Froster, which are awesome, for 69 cents now through September 3rd, or just 79 cents for non-members. Find it in the app under Inner Circle/offers. Sign up with the QR code on screen, or just visit circlek.com/inner circle for more information on how to become an Inner Circle member. All right. Without further ado, that interview with Colorado State men's head basketball coach Niko Medved. We talked all kinds of stuff. A chaotic offseason, a lot of possibility moving forward with, essentially 4 starting roles up for grabs. Really the entire rotation outside of, outside of Nique Clifford. That Kyan Evans, that Rashawn Bemba are definitely going to play a big factor, but you brought in a lot of D1 veterans, which is not really something we've seen from the staff in recent years. It's pretty exciting. We talked to life without Isaiah Stevens, his relationship with Parsons and Weber, all that fun stuff. So yeah, here's that interview with Niko Medved. I'm really thankful because we have Niko Medved joining the show once again. First time we've been able to catch up since the end of the season there a couple months back. It's been hectic. You were kind of alluding to it before we got started here, but I mean, is the process as a head coach just more all consuming than it's ever been? Because it seems like the season ends and with the portal and everything else that you guys have to deal with, it's like you go from one thing immediately to the next. There isn't really an off season these days.
It's always been all consuming. Um, Now more than ever, I think one of the things I've learned now as I've been through, you really have to kind of change your rhythm a little bit in your calendar as a head coach. And maybe the way you did things, 10 years ago, as far as your calendar throughout the year, you have to think differently, and you need sometimes your bosses and stuff to think differently too, as far as the time of the year that you do things. And yeah, I mean, when the season ends, this year more than ever, it was just pretty much nonstop until the middle of May, and really then in our case again down to the draft deadline, at the end of May, and that's just kind of the nature of it, right now. And but that's hey, that's what we signed up for, and we got through it. The team is back here, and we're already started back up this week.
Did it make it harder, I guess, just given that I don't know, you reportedly had some, like offers or some interest from other schools. Is it harder to go through that process not knowing like 100% definitively, well, I may be here, I may be somewhere else. Like I guess was that just a different wrinkle in the process?
I mean, you're fortunate when you've had success, there's things that come along with that. And there was a lot to deal with, in the spring. But those things are blessings, and I feel very, very fortunate, to be where I am. And CSU's been great to us. And so I'm happy to be here. I walked out on the court today and with the guys, and I need name tags. I think here with as many new faces as we have, I looked down for the first time, and number 4 was not there in the front row of the meeting room. And I'm excited about this group. So it kind of gets you re-energized again, to get going. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on this spring, emotionally and with that. But that's the nature of it. And again, I feel really blessed to be sitting here where I am today.
Well, obviously, the other big decision from CSU fan standpoint in terms of just, what they were following was Nique Clifford going to come back or not? And certainly took that decision down to the deadline. What was that, I guess, conversation, that process like in those final days? And when did you know definitively like Nique is coming back for sure?
This kid, I told him too when I finally saw him, like, I've never loved somebody so much and just been such a big pain in the what when it comes to recruiting. It's been the third time, and it's always there's always been a little bit of drama involved. But I mean, these are hard life decisions, for guys, and I respect that, and support him all the way through it. And I think a month ago, maybe he had his heart in a different place. But I tell you what, it takes a lot of maturity as a young person, as any person, to you may have your heart set on something, but as you go through something and you're able to look at your circumstances and the data you have and make the best decision for you, maybe if it's not even what you wanted or maybe even what you intended, a month ago. And I thought when he took it all in, he made the best decision for him. And I think he made a great decision for himself too. And I thought in all three of these cases, when we had 3 guys go down to the deadline, what I take a lot of pride in is people say, well, coach, clearly you wanted all these guys back. And well, of course you want to coach them. But honestly, Justin, I look at this as I really want what's best for those guys. I mean, them personally. They're incredible young men. They've given so much to our program. It's my job as a coach to help them make the best decision and get what they want out of their future. And I think what I feel really good about is in all 3 cases, I think all 3 of them made the best decision for them. And in 2 of the cases, it ended up coming back to CSU, but I feel really good about all 3. And I didn't necessarily feel that way the last 2 days of the draft deadline when I'm on vacation and Nique or whatever. But I love you, Nique. But it all ended up working out, and one day we can talk about how it all ended. But at the end of the day, I looked. He was in practice today, so I know that.
The other day after his workout with the Warriors, I kind of asked Zay just if he thought that Nique was ready to essentially step into a different role. I mean, obviously he was a star last year, but it's different. The face of the program's no longer there. You've got more leadership responsibility, more offensive responsibility. Do you feel like he's kind of ready for that at this stage of his career?
Oh, without question. I think he is. And I think that's another step for him. And that's one of the things we talked about, as he was coming down to this decision and another way to be challenged. You look at the course of his career, everyone's got their own journey and their own path. And, he really came onto the scene last year and really, really proud of him, the way he did that and the way he positioned himself now, deciding to come back. I think his role is going to be different than it ever is. But Neek's such an elite human being and person, and is very coachable. And I think he's really excited about that, of kind of having an opportunity to be that guy. And for him, the way I look at it, what the great players can truly do is help lift everybody else up around them. It's not just how they play individually, it's can they help everybody else also raise their level and help become their best. And I think that's something he's looking forward to. I think he's got the personality to do that, and he's got the care factor, to do that. And so I'm really looking forward to that for him, and that's something we're really going to need.
It's not the first time that you guys have had to replace multiple starters or have had a fairly large recruiting class, but I mean, 10 newcomers, that's quite a few new faces. I mean, you joked, might need some name tags out there. I guess just kind of what are your thoughts on this roster, and what was the thought process in terms of bringing in some of these veteran players? You got a few more D1 transfers this time around than the last couple of years. Was that intentional? Just kind of what was your thought process with all that?
Well, I mean, I think it started with we had 5 seniors who graduated, right? So, I mean, we knew going into it, we were going to have 5 guys whose eligibility was up. Nique's situation was going to be up in the air. We knew that, going down to the deadline, decided we were going to stick it out with him till the end. So that, we had 4 freshmen we had already, signed. So we were going to have some young guys coming in. We knew the 3 guys at least who were going to be back, right? Rashawn, Cayenne, and Jalen Lake, who we all really love. Um, and so then, I think we really wanted to find talent, some guys who fit. And, these guys know me. The one thing I never have done and I never will do is sacrifice character for talent. Um, they're great guys. We got great guys. We got a lot to learn. Some guys coming from different places and different situations, and how it's all going to mold together. You don't know. I look forward to that process. I've already been, what's the team going to look like next year? How are you going to, and I know yet, but heck, I don't know. I'm just trying to learn everyone's names. I'm half kidding, but I joke with the guys about that today. And so it's going to be a process, me getting to know them getting to know me, to know each other, and how that's going to work. But I do like the guys a lot. I think we've got some ability on this team, but we can't get caught up yet into November. We just got to get caught up in what we're doing today. But I'm excited to go to work with this group.
Is that kind of a fun position though, as a staff, just given like you get to really push these guys. It's not like any starting role is ever a given going into any year. I mean, I as long as he's healthy, I think you could say like Isaiah was going to start last year, Nique's probably going to start this year, but it feels like truly there's 4 starting spots and like multiple spots in the rotation up for grabs. Like that should, in theory, kind of bring out the competitive nature in these guys.
I think so. I mean, yeah, it's going to be really competitive, for playing time. And like I told the guys today, the reality of it is one thing I know, starting with myself, everybody in this program is going to have to sacrifice something of themselves if we're going to have a successful season. And that's true every year. And so, how that looks, we don't know yet, but I can guarantee you that's going to have to happen. As far as roles, playing time, what that looks like, giving of themselves to the program. But it's interesting. For me, there's a lot to not like about the state of college athletics right now. It's a major challenge. The spring is not fun all the time, a lot of what we're doing. But the one thing that I love now is the thing I love the most about the job is the coaching, the developing, the connecting, planning practice, putting the piece. I'm a competitive guy. And so now I'm really excited for the challenge. This is what I live for. This is what I enjoy doing. And now we get to do that. And so I'm not going to spend time, worried about what happened. I'm now, have changed my focus to getting excited about the challenge that we have in front of us, because I like challenges and I'm a competitor and I like this group and I can't wait to go to work. And so now I'm just excited to get to coach these guys.
Has the process changed from a coaching standpoint in terms of, is it harder to play the long game? Like, I guess I'm just thinking in terms of, you have a couple of guys coming back after breakout freshman seasons. In the past, like maybe you're like, oh, we really got to focus on developing these guys so that in year 3 and year 4, they're guaranteed this. But nowadays it's so hard and guaranteeing anybody's going to be there for more than a year at a time. I guess, like, do you guys have to view the situation almost year to year more so than you would have in the past?
I think maybe there's some of that that's just natural. But the one thing I can tell you is we're going to work our tail off to develop everybody here. So I'm not going to worry about, that the guys that we believe in, whether you have 1 year, you have 4 years off, we're going to work really hard to develop you as a player, as a person, and understanding our standards, and have some fun doing it. Develop relationships. I mean, that's what we're going to do. And there's no guarantees of anything, next year now. But I'm not going to spend all my time worried about that. I'm going to really put my energy into this. And so, but yeah, I mean, obviously the nature of it has changed a little bit with the transfer rules and NIL and all that stuff. But we've changed before, maybe not never as much as all the changes that are happening now. So you do have to evolve, but I think you can evolve without fundamentally changing who you are and what you believe in. And I try to live by that every day. It's a challenge sometimes in today's climate, but usually when I go back to that and try to center myself, so to speak, I usually find the right answer. But in a long-winded way is, yeah, I mean, of course, you're trying to build it, and every year you're looking at your team, but I'm never going to change the way I look at developing guys. All these guys who are in our program, we're going to work our butt off to develop them and focus on this year, and we'll see what happens.
You kind of alluded to it at the beginning, but just how weird was it to be out there today without Isaiah Stevens?
It's funny, he was in here a few weeks ago after workouts, and we were just chatting in my office, and I told him, I'm just like, man, I know it's going to hit me when I walk down there for that first kind of team meeting. And he had the chair that he sat in, for his entire career right up front. He's always been there right up front, just to my right, was always there. And when I look down and he's not there, it's going to hit me, and it hits you today when you walk out and he's not out there in practice. But, at the same point in time, it's like, that's what this is about. That's what legacies are about. I'm just enjoyed you had a player like that for 5 years, be your starting point guard for 5 years. I mean, will that ever happen again? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know that it will, So, so anyway, he's just a great young man, as good as they come. But it is going to be different. But it's time to pass the torch to somebody else. It's time to, build off legacies that guys create, and to try to create the next one, to try to build on it. And that's what programs do. And here we are.
Don't go anywhere. We've got more of that interview with Niko Medved. I appreciate everybody locked in on the Toyota chat. If you're listening on X, come over, watch on YouTube, hop in the chat. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades that are built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays, they're an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. They've got hundreds of options to choose from. I think basically everybody on staff has a different. I don't know anybody have a duplicate at this point, so you're bound to find the perfect pair that matches your style. They've got different colors. I mean, different types. If you want basically like a classic. I don't want to say other brand names, so I'm just going to move on. If your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They do have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every single pair is backed by lost and broken replacements. For people like me that've got a big ass dog, that's really convenient. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Make sure you use that code DNVR for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The Shade's rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, guys, it's a Friday morning. I'm feeling good. The sun is out. It's been a long week, so I'm looking forward to the weekend. And it feels very fitting because I've got my Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt on right now. And it's time to promote the homies over at Coors Light. When life gets as chaotic as mine has been, you can be a little bit irritable. You can be kind of a jerk. Maybe you end up snapping at some people that you don't intend to. You don't want that to happen. And that's why you want to choose a chill mindset. You want to make sure you take a minute and take a deep breath, get yourself in the right mindset, get the vibes going right. And then when you do, crack open an ice cold Coors Light. When the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light, crisp and refreshing. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill with Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I will get right back to that interview with Niko Medved here. Just a couple of things I wanted to hit on before we do. Just a couple of things that really stood out to me from that first half. I really think CSU fans should understand just how big of a deal it was for Nique Clifford to return. He was dead set on going pro, and I talked about it for weeks. It's why I didn't anticipate him returning. I just thought that with his upside at the next level, somebody'd be willing to take a chance on him. I think for him to have the emotional maturity to make the actually right decision for himself, for his future, I don't know if a lot of people could do that, at 21, 22 years old. I'm not exactly sure how old he is off the top of my head, but it's really huge. It's also big that these last couple of years, all of these players that have had NBA opportunities, that's been the decision for them. It's, do I go back to CSU or do I go to the NBA? It's not, do I chase a check, in the portal? Do I try and go somewhere else? It's been that I can do what's best for me right here in Fort Collins, right here at CSU. And I loved what Niko said. Like, obviously, what's best for CSU is not always necessarily what's best for the individual. And ultimately, what he wants is what's best for these guys. Like, it was the right decision for Isaiah to come back. It was the right decision for Nique to come back. It was the right decision for David to go when he did. And obviously, it panned out in a major way. So I just think when you have a coach that's so genuine, it's easy to understand why this program has had success, why guys have come in and chosen to stick around when other programs with probably, frankly, like similar resumes, similar amounts of financial backing have had a lot more challenges retaining talent. So really appreciate this interview. We're going to get to part two here. Here is part two with Niko Medved. Some theories, I guess, or just some proposals, I guess would be the way to put it, from various college basketball media members, former coaches, that kind of stuff. There's just been a lot of talk about the fifth year. And obviously that was kind of a unique thing with COVID, but I think it's kind of resulted in a pretty interesting product. Like, you've had a lot of older college basketball players these last couple of years that I don't know, would they have stuck around in the past? Would you be open to potentially having it be 5 years of eligibility instead of 4, or is that just kind of too out there?
Man, you're getting deep. It's interesting. I've had a lot of people lately have kind of brought that up a little bit or talked about it. And I'll be honest, I haven't put enough thought in it to really have a clear opinion on what I think. Um, I know having older veteran experienced players makes you look like a better coach. I know that. Um, but I don't know how that would all look when you really take the big picture in mind. You know what I mean? Of how that affects some of the younger guys and the development. I'm not sure, but I'm not opposed to that. I'm not saying I'm for it either. I think one thing that will change all of this next year, we won't have the fifth year of COVID eligibility, right? And that will be the first year. So now the sports will go back to being a little bit younger. Does that deteriorate the product? I don't know, how that's going to look.
It's just interesting to me. I just thought it was fun, and I think it could be like maybe it's a way you reward guys. Maybe it's an incentive, like if you get your degree or something, then you can get a fifth year or something like that. I don't know, just something to think about.
I'm again, I'm not opposed to that. I think there is some interesting, things to about that. And I know one thing, there were some fifth year guys we had. I sure enjoyed the heck out of coaching.
I don't want to take up too much of your time here because I could sit here and pester you all day. But you had a
I'm
couple
good,
of staff
Justin. So yeah,
announcements. Trust me, don't egg me on. I'll keep going.
yeah.
But um, you add Ken DeWeese to the staff. He was most recently the associate head coach at Wyoming. That's obviously a fun little storyline, like for the fans, just with the rivalry and everything. But what does he bring to the table? Why is he a guy that you wanted to bring in? And how big is his regional familiarity, just in terms of being a guy that worked in the Mountain West, worked at Wyoming, had the background at UNC. He knows this part of the country pretty well.
Well, I'm gonna back up and CJ Rivers, decided to left to take a job at Marquette, and CJ's like family. I love him. He played for us. He was a GA. He, came back as an assistant, and I'm proud of him, and probably a tough decision, for him, but one that I think impacts his career. And so I'm proud of him. I love to see guys that are moving on and growing in his case. And then really, to be honest, Justin, I mean, with what happened, with Jeff deciding to go to Texas Tech, and, believe it or not, we're rivals. But I am friends with Jeff. I really liked those guys at Wyoming. I think they're really good coaches in a difficult situation that did a lot of great things. Ken DeWeese is somebody that I've admired, and I know how much he did for Coach Linder on his staff. I think he's an excellent recruiter, an excellent coach, an excellent person. And when somebody like him, as talented, as and experienced as him, became available kind of at that time, the timing would just couldn't have been better to have somebody like that, who was right in the region here. And so I feel really, really fortunate, and we do too, to have somebody of his caliber step into that spot for us. I think it's just awesome. And I know Canada has several opportunities, and the fact that he wanted to come here is so awesome, for me and for us as a program. And so hopefully it's a place that people enjoy working and want to be a part of. And I think Ken's going to bring a lot to the table for us from a recruiting perspective, coaching perspective, and just experience, of the league, and all of this. And so it's already felt seamless that way. And I think we're really, really fortunate to have somebody like him join our staff.
I know you're happy for the guys that move on, but Ali obviously has been here with you since the very beginning, now elevated to that associate head coaching role. What makes him so important for this program, and like how big is it to keep that continuity with kind of your right hand man there?
Yeah, and what's funny about Ali is it's like, heck, I would have given him that title before, but to be honest, like, it wasn't even something he really wanted or whatever. He's such a team guy and cares so much, but it's just, there comes a time where maybe I push him a little bit to get, the recognition. And, he's a guy, same thing, that, I mean, he's been, with me since Drake. He was a young guy getting into the business, and you could see the level of talent he had. He's an excellent communicator. He's an excellent coach. He's got unbelievable people skills in the way he connects with the players. And he's just meant a ton. I mean, he's been through us through thick and thin, and has helped me so much. And listen, I learned this quickly, is, as a head coach, you're only as good as a leader. You're only as good as the people around you. And you have to have excellent elite assistant coaches and players who are great people, and they make you look good. And he's at the top of that list. And so it's just awesome to have somebody like that here, who I trust implicitly, who's meant so much to the program in every way. And again, all these guys can Ali's going to be a head coach one day. I've had other guys to be head coaches, and I hope all these other guys become to be head coaches, and I hope they're better ones than I ever was, because that means you're doing something, and I take a lot of pride in that. And Ali just deserves all the credit he gets.
We've got some questions here from Ram fans, before I let you go. Eric wants to know, they've taken the step to get to the tourney. You guys have won a game in the tournament now. What's kind of that next step for you guys as a program, and how do you get there? That's a very open-ended question, but take that however you will.
Man, I think, it's kind of generic. I think it's hard to put like numbers on it and say, well, now we're gonna, win this many. Now it's a Sweet 16. Now it's this or whatever. I think in a general sense, it's like when I came here, people talk about the vision I had for the program was to be a program that is just part of the fabric of the community and of the university. And I think continuing to build on that, continuing to build the fan base, become the build where like our games are really important. You know, what we're doing is really important. The engagement from, because you're not doing that if you're not winning. We got to
Yeah.
continue to take to the next level. How do we do that? How do we develop a consistency, you know, year in and year out of the way we perform? Can we not just go to the NCAA? Can we make a deep run in the tournament? It's hard to get an at-large bid. You know, can we keep finding ways to do that? Keep finding ways to increase our profile, season ticket base, fan base. I mean, all those things. The way we raise money. You know, I'm looking at it today, and you know, more people I think are in the Fort Collins community are talking about our program than ever have.
Oh,
You
without a
know,
doubt. Yeah.
year round. That's progress, you know, and how do we build on that? So it's those things, kind of 30,000-foot view, that I think are taking it to the next level. Having three guys in a row who've gone through the draft process legitimately is great. It causes some stress, but that's also shows you where the program is. And so I think building on those things is going to continue to lead to the next level. And if you keep doing those things, you're going to continue to break through. You're going to continue to do things you haven't done before. And that's really what I want. And so yeah, I'm never one to just say, well, we got to go to the Sweet 16 next year. It's a failure. I mean, you don't, you know, that's not the way it works, but we got to continue to increase the profile of the program, the exposure, the brand. And if we do that, you're obviously doing that if you're continuing to win. And I think when we do that, we're going to continue to break through and do bigger and better things.
Kind of off that, we have quite a few people that want to know what is your relationship like with Amy Parsons and John Weber? It seems to be very great based on like everything that we see from a PR standpoint and all that. But like, how big is your relationship with them? And did that kind of factor into you wanting to stick around as well?
I mean, you know, start with Amy. I mean, I can't, it's hard to, I don't know how she does it. Like, I don't know if she like drinks like Red Bulls all day or whatever. And I'm joking, Miss President. But I mean, she's just been an unbelievable supporter of athletics, of me personally. And it's been awesome. It's just been awesome to see the energy, the care factor that she's had, really wanting to be committed to being great, supporting you, to being front and center. It's just been absolutely phenomenal, and I consider her a friend, somebody I feel like I can talk to, and she's been awesome that way. So I can't say enough good things about her and our relationship that way. And John, you know, same way. You know, John's getting thrust into now becoming the athletic director. He obviously took on a job that nobody wanted, right? Years ago. I mean, came in and decided we needed somebody to come in here and kind of get their arms around this NIL thing. And thank God he did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he really did a phenomenal job of learning the landscape, of really connecting. I mean, he really developed a relationship with all the athletes, and the coaches that way. You know, and Amy's decided to give him this opportunity. I think he's going to do great. I think that he's somebody that understands, you know, as a leader, he's going to take all of his experiences and help move us forward. And he's also going to surround himself with really good people that will help him. And it's just like I talked about, like, you know, I get too much credit. Sometimes it's about surrounding yourself with really, really good people. And when you do that, and good things are going to happen. So I'm really excited about both of them, and the direction that we're going, and finding a way to take CSU to the next level.
Ryan wants to know who has the best snacks consistently out on the road. That's become obviously a great tradition that we all love to follow. Is there anybody that jumps out like, man, does anybody go crazy? Like, does anybody go way
Well,
overboard?
some of these guys, I won't name names, we definitely always have to like make sure they understand it's a 2 snack limit, you know, because some of these guys might go crazy. So we always have a 2 snack limit. I don't know. I mean, it can be spur of the moment, you know, kind of thing. I personally think like when I can and I go with like the ice cream bar at the end, I think that's about as solid and as, I mean, who doesn't like ice cream? Do you know what I mean? And like, I'm not a big candy guy. I'm not going to go get some Laffy Taffy or Starburst or any of that stuff like that. But some good ice cream that I get, I think is as good as any right now. The one thing I can tell you who it's not is it's not Brian Cooley.
He's always got like Raisin Bran and healthy options.
Silly, silly. I might go with some beef jerky every once in a while or something, depending on, what the post game meal might look like. But usually I'm going with my ice cream.
What type of ice cream bar are we talking here? Are we talking like an ice cream sandwich? We talking like a
Yeah, I mean,
cone?
usually, usually the ones, doesn't matter which gas station you go to, you're gonna find the Haagen-Dazs, and I like the milk chocolate. I'm kind of old school, and I don't
Yeah.
really like the almonds in it. I just like the plain kind of milk chocolate deal. But man, and you're gonna hit me. I would have the picture somewhere on the phone. We were in California, and there was some sort of ice cream bar that was like made in San Francisco that I've never had before, and I can't believe it, the name, and it was the best one I've ever had. And I got to go back and look at them. It's the first place I've ever seen it. And so I got to go back and look because that was clearly better. And I'm not trying to put Haagen-Dazs or get an NIL deal with Haagen-Dazs or anything. But usually that's what you can count on as a good Haagen-Dazs milk chocolate ice cream bar.
I love it. I love it. Classic. I'm with you though. I'm a milk chocolate kind of guy. I like ice cream. I'm not big on candy in general. Like every
Mm.
now and then, hot tamales or something if you have it. But
Hot tamales, that's disgusting.
oh,
Really?
you don't like them? Not a hot tamale guy?
No. Well, the problem with me is like if I eat 2 Skittles, I'm going to want to eat 30 Skittles and then I feel awful. So I just stay away from it.
Probably smart, man. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time. I always appreciate you, how accessible you are. It's awesome for the community. It's obviously awesome for me. And, we don't take it for granted. I hope you know that.
Well, thanks, Justin. Anytime. Appreciate you covering us, and I'm excited for what's next at CSU.
Me too, man. Big shout out to Niko Medved. Huge shout out to Ryan Pfeiffer of CSU Athletics for putting that together for me. Shout out to all you in the Toyota chat that have been locked in. I appreciate everybody that always consumes our content. Before we get out of here, I wanted to comment on a couple of things that Niko said there in the second part of the interview. I do think that the fact that we talk CSU men's basketball year round now is a testament to what has been built, over the last, it really, I mean, it's been like a 15-year process, but especially under Niko Medved, there's just been an upward trajectory. It's hard if you're trying to put specific parameters on this is, where we need to be for this season to be a success. And I've talked about that before. Like, if you win the regular season Mountain West Conference title, but you get murdered like an NCAA tournament, is that a successful? Like, there's so many different ways you can gauge success. And so if you're trying to define it specifically, that can be challenging. But really, it's just about continuing the positive momentum that you have, remaining consistently competitive, being a program that's, considered one of the faces of like mid-major college basketball. And I think CSU is in that spot right now. They just want to continue to build on it. I loved what he had to say about Ali Farokhmanesh, Ken DeWeese coming over as well. I'm interested to see. I think this is a really exciting year for the program. It's going to be weird not having Isaiah Stevens leading the squad out there, but I also think it's pretty exciting for a guy like Nique Clifford. And honestly, like I am rooting for him individually in a major way. Like nothing would make me more stoked than to see Nique have an epic year, get rewarded, be like the Mountain West Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, something like that. Go on, be a top 20 pick or something like that. Top 20, just be a draft pick at all. Go on and star in the NBA because that's a dude that has worked his ass off. It's a really cool story that he's been able to be selfless enough to kind of accept his position after being a former 4-star recruit, one of the top guys coming out of the state of Colorado, goes to CU, really shines early and then kind of gets buried in the rotation. It could have been a much different story, his career. And instead it's looking like he's going to, ultimately play his way into, probably being a first round pick in the NBA. Because I think he just refines a couple of things, continues to build off what we saw down the stretch. And he's got everything you want as an NBA player. I mean, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism. He's already an NBA caliber defender. Needs to be a little bit more consistent with the jump shot, but I mean, his ability to get to the hoop is definitely next level. I thought as the year went on, he showed a little bit more of that playmaking ability, and we saw that with some of the double doubles and the big time production he had in, the Mountain West tournament. And then again, against Virginia, like he was as good as it gets, especially with Isaiah, being a little bit hobbled in that game. I can't say enough good things about him. And frankly, selfishly, it's great. Like I'm excited to be able to hype him up on every show, talk about it for a year. Yeah, that was really fun. If you guys have anything that you want me to comment on, go ahead and throw it in the Toyota chat before we get out of here. But that's about it. I will say, I think there were some pretty telling comments about the state of the administration. I think it's very clear that Niko Medved is much more pleased with the current state of the CSU admin than he was, say a year ago. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but I think reading between the lines there, there was some pretty poignant commentary just in terms of Weber and specifically him talking about NIL and how it was a job that nobody wanted within the CSU admin. I think there was kind of not only a failure to embrace NIL, but really like they wanted to just look the other way. I don't know. It's wild. It's why the change was necessary. Yeah, as Taylor said, that was pretty obvious. So I really appreciate Niko coming on, being so transparent with us, being just open and, willing to have a free flowing conversation with me. Not every coach is willing to do that with their local media. They think everybody's out to get them. I mean, obviously I think some of that has to do with, me being on the beat since the day he arrived and like us having that established rapport. But even so, some coaches, they can go on an interview with a guy that they've known for a decade and it's like you're interviewing the president. You can't get the secrets out of him or something like that. Niko, Jay, they come on, they say what it is. They keep it real with us. They give us great insight into what's happening with the program, their vision for it moving forward. And I really appreciate it. So I cannot wait to be around the program more again, like I was in the past. Obviously being in Denver the last couple of years, I wasn't at as many practices. That's going to change. Taylor in the Toyota chat says, from Stacy and Adazio to Medved and Norvell, how far we've come. Mama, we've made it. It's a different spot now. Larry's a complicated legacy, and I've talked about that a lot. I would not frame him in the same vein as Adazio, despite the fact that Larry's the one that actually got, outed, and Adazio just kind of got fired for lack of success. But I truly believe that Daz was a significantly worse dude. Sean says, great interview. Looking forward to the season. Much love, my man. I appreciate you guys locked in with us. That's all I've got for today. Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the Ram dads out there. Like I said, I got interview coming up with Caden Branston this weekend, 2025 CSU football commit. So you're not going to want to miss on that. Tons of written content coming your way. We're going to start previewing the season, position breakdowns, get really into the weeds of the schedule, all that fun stuff. Much love, y'all. Always proud to be. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.